The ultimatum. The vast expanse of space had never seemed so oppressive. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ISS Resilience, Earth's most advanced space station, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The image showed a massive fleet of alien ships, their sleek obsidian hulls reflecting the dim light of distant stars. They had appeared without warning, emerging from what could only be described as tears in the fabric of space itself. "Status report," Chen demanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel's fingers danced across his console. "The alien fleet has taken up positions around Earth's major population centers. Admiral, they're not firing, but their weapons are hot." Chen nodded, her mind racing. Humanity had long prepared for this day, but the reality of it was still overwhelming. Any communication from them? As if in response to her question, every screen on the bridge flickered. The image of an alien being appeared, tall, with iridescent scales covering its body and 4 glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the very soul. "People of Earth," the alien's voice boomed, translated in real time by the station's advanced AI. "I am Supreme Commander Zarkon of the Zarkonian Empire. Your planet now stands at the precipice of a new era. For centuries, we have observed your species, your conflicts, your progress, your potential. We have determined that you are now worthy of joining our glorious empire." Chen's fists clenched at her sides. This was no invitation, it was an ultimatum. Zarkon continued, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. "You have 24 Earth hours to surrender unconditionally. Dismantle your governments, lay down your weapons, and prepare to serve the Empire. Resistance is futile, and will result in the annihilation of your species. Choose wisely." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Orders, Admiral?" Patil asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Initiate Protocol Omega. It's time to show these Arconians what humanity is truly capable of." As Chen's words echoed through the station, a flurry of activity erupted. Hidden compartments opened, revealing advanced weaponry that had been concealed from prying eyes. Encrypted messages were sent to secret bases around the globe and throughout the solar system. For decades, humanity had been preparing for this moment. The world's governments, setting aside their differences, had poured resources into a clandestine space program. They had developed technologies that pushed the boundaries of physics, quantum computers that could process information faster than light, energy shields that could withstand the force of a supernova, and weapons that could harness the power of dark matter. In underground bunkers and hidden lunar bases, soldiers trained in zero-gravity combat suited up. Scientists made last-minute adjustments to experimental craft that defied conventional understanding of propulsion. And in the hearts of every human being, a fire was ignited, a determination to prove that humanity would not go quietly into the night. As the hours ticked by, Chen coordinated with world leaders and military commanders. The plan they had rehearsed countless times was now being put into action. To the Zarkonians, it would appear that Earth was preparing to surrender. In reality, they were mobilizing for the greatest fight in human history. 18 hours into the ultimatum, Chen received a transmission from an unexpected source. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, lead scientist of Project Singularity, appeared on her private screen. "Admiral," Tanaka said, her eyes bright with excitement despite the dark circles beneath them. "We've done it. The quantum core is stable. We can deploy the Singularity Drive." Chen felt a surge of hope. The Singularity Drive was humanity's ace in the hole, a propulsion system that could create localized wormholes, allowing for instantaneous travel across vast distances. If it worked, it would negate the Zarkonians' greatest advantage, their superior faster-than-light technology. "Excellent work, Doctor," Chen replied. "Begin integration immediately. We'll need every advantage we can get." As the deadline approached, Chen addressed the combined forces of humanity. Her image was broadcast to every soldier, every pilot, every citizen who had been entrusted with the truth. For generations, we have looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. She began, her voice carrying the weight of history. Today, we have our answer. But we also face a choice: submit to tyranny or fight for our freedom. I say we fight. Not just for ourselves, but for every species that has fallen under the Zarkonian boot. We will show them that humanity is not to be underestimated. We will show them the true meaning of resilience, of innovation, of courage. She paused, looking directly into the camera. The road ahead will be difficult. We may face losses that seem unbearable. But remember this: we are fighting for our right to exist, for our children's future, for the very essence of what it means to be human. And that is a force more powerful than any empire. As Chen finished her speech, a chorus of cheers erupted from every corner of the globe and beyond. Humanity was united as never before, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the final moments before the Zarkonian deadline, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching as Earth's hidden fleets emerged from their concealment. Ships of impossible designs, crafted with technology that the Zarkonians couldn't begin to comprehend, took up defensive positions around the planet. "Send our response to the Zarkonians," Chen ordered, a grim smile on her face. The message was simple: we choose freedom. As the words were transmitted, the quantum cores of Earth's ships hummed to life. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin, and the Zarkonian Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the human spirit. The deception. The sun rose on a world forever changed. In the 48 hours since humanity's defiant response to the Zarkonian ultimatum, an uneasy quiet had settled over the planet. To the casual observer, it appeared that Earth had capitulated, its cities now overshadowed by the looming presence of Zarkonian ships. Supreme Commander Zarkon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, a smug satisfaction evident in his four-eyed gaze. "You see, Sub-Commander Vexera, these humans are not so different from the other races we've conquered." A show of force, and they crumble. Vexera, his second in command, nodded in agreement, but a flicker of doubt crossed her features. "Indeed, Supreme Commander. Though I must admit, their initial resistance was unexpected." Zarkon dismissed her concern with a wave of his scaled hand. A final act of defiance, nothing more. "Now, begin the integration process. I want this planet's resources flowing to the Empire within a solar cycle." As Zarkonian troops began their descent to Earth's surface, they were met with no resistance. Human leaders appeared on global broadcasts, urging calm and cooperation. The Zarkonians saw this as confirmation of their victory, never suspecting the elaborate deception unfolding beneath their feet. Deep underground, in a vast network of bunkers and tunnels that spanned the globe, the true face of humanity's resistance took shape. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, head of Earth's Unified Science Division, stood before a group of the world's brightest minds. "The Zarkonians believe they've won," she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous lab. "That gives us the advantage. While they focus on stripping our planet's surface, we'll be preparing our counterattack." She gestured to a holographic display, showing a complex molecular structure. "This is why we allowed them to land. Every Zarkonian who sets foot on our planet is unknowingly exposed to compound X219. It's harmless to humans, but it binds to their unique biology. In essence, we're tagging them." One of the scientists raised a hand. "But what good does tagging them do?" Dr. Rodriguez smiled. "It allows us to track them, yes, but more importantly, it lets us interface with their technology. Right now, our quantum AIs are sifting through every scrap of data from their ships, their weapons, their very history. We're learning everything about them, while they remain ignorant of our true capabilities." Across the planet, similar scenes played out. In hidden military bases, soldiers trained with weapons that defied conventional physics. Quantum-entangled communication networks kept the resistance coordinated, invisible to Zarkonian detection. On the surface, a different story unfolded. Jake Martinez, a sanitation worker from New York, now found himself working under the watchful eye of Zarkonian overseers. Like millions of others, he played the part of the defeated, subservient human. "Keep moving, Earth scum," as Zarkonian guards snarled, shoving Jake as he loaded debris onto a hover transport. Jake stumbled but didn't fall. He muttered an apology, all the while suppressing the urge to reveal that the simple wristband he wore was actually a highly advanced quantum computer, gathering crucial intelligence with every interaction. Months passed, and the Zarkonians grew complacent. They saw humans as nothing more than a labor force, incapable of posing any real threat. This hubris would prove to be their downfall. In the Zarkonian Command Center, established in what was once the United Nations headquarters, Sub-Commander Vexera found herself increasingly uneasy. "Supreme Commander," she said, approaching Zarkon cautiously, "I've been analyzing the resource extraction reports, and something doesn't add up." Zarkon turned to her, annoyance clear in his posture. "Explain." "The humans are too efficient," Vexera said. "They're meeting every quota we set, often exceeding them. It's as if they have access to technology beyond what we've allowed them." Zarkon laughed dismissively. "You give these primitives too much credit, Vexera. They simply fear us, as they should. Their efficiency is born of terror." But Vexera wasn't convinced. She began her own investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind humanity's apparent docility. Meanwhile, in a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice, Admiral Sarah Chen met with the core of Earth's resistance leadership. The room hummed with nervous energy as Chen took her place at the head of the table. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady, "we've reached a critical juncture. Thanks to Dr. Rodriguez and her team, we now have a comprehensive understanding of Zarkonian technology. More importantly, we've developed countermeasures that they cannot anticipate." She nodded to a young lieutenant, who activated a holographic display. It showed Earth, surrounded by a web of quantum-entangled satellites, invisible to conventional detection methods. "Operation Cosmic Web is complete," Chen continued. "We now have the ability to disable every piece of Zarkonian technology on the planet and in orbit simultaneously. But we must strike decisively. Once we reveal our hand, we'll be fighting not just the occupation force, but the full might of the Zarkonian Empire." The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. It was General Akira Tanaka who finally spoke up. "We've been preparing for this moment for generations, Admiral. Humanity is ready." Chen nodded solemnly. "Very well. We'll initiate Phase 1 in 72 hours. Inform your teams, but maintain absolute secrecy. The element of surprise is our greatest weapon." As the meeting adjourned, Chen found herself alone with Dr. Rodriguez. The scientist's eyes gleamed with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Admiral," Rodriguez said quietly, "there's something else you should know. Project Prometheus. It's ready." Chen's eyes widened. Project Prometheus was the codename for humanity's most ambitious and terrifying weapon, a device capable of manipulating the very fabric of space-time. It was a weapon of last resort, one that could change the course of the war in an instant. "Are you certain it's stable?" Chen asked. Rodriguez nodded. "As certain as we can be. But the power it unleashes, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. Using it comes with risks we can't fully predict." Chen placed a hand on Rodriguez's shoulder. "Let's pray it doesn't come to that. But if it does, we'll do whatever it takes to ensure humanity's survival." As Chen left the facility, her mind raced with the enormity of what was to come. In just 3 days, the fate of humanity would be decided. The Zarkonians believed they had subjugated a primitive race, but they were about to face the full, terrible power of human ingenuity and determination. Across the planet, resistance members received coded messages. In factories, offices, and homes occupied by Zarkonian forces, millions of humans steeled themselves for what was to come. The greatest deception in human history was about to be revealed, and with it, a war that would reshape the galaxy. As the countdown to humanity's uprising ticked away, Supreme Commander Zarkon remained blissfully unaware of the storm about to break. His empire had conquered countless worlds, but none had prepared him for the indomitable spirit of humanity. The stage was set for a conflict that would be remembered for millennia to come. The uprising. The moment of truth had arrived. As the sun rose on what appeared to be just another day of Zarkonian occupation, a silent signal raced through Earth's hidden quantum network. In an instant, millions of seemingly docile humans transformed into a coordinated fighting force. Jake Martinez, the sanitation worker from New York, shed his disguise. With practiced ease, he activated his wristband, which expanded into a full suit of advanced combat armor. All around him, fellow resistance members did the same. The streets of New York, once filled with the sound of Zarkonian hover transports, now echoed with the battle cries of humanity. Supreme Commander Zarkon was enjoying his morning meal when the alarms began to blare. "What is the meaning of this?" he roared, storming onto the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Sub-Commander Vexera's hands flew over the control panels, her 4 eyes wide with disbelief. "Supreme Commander, we're under attack. The humans, they're rising up everywhere." Zarkon's scales paled. "Impossible. How could these primitives?" His words were cut short as the ship suddenly lurched, its systems flickering and dying. Across the planet and in orbit, every piece of Zarkonian technology simultaneously went dark. In the skies above Earth, the true extent of humanity's deception was revealed. Massive warships, hidden by advanced cloaking technology, decloaked in perfect formation. At their center was the ISS Prometheus, Earth's crowning achievement in space warfare. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, her eyes gleaming with fierce determination. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Operation Cosmic Web is in effect. Engage the enemy and show them the true might of humanity." The space battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human ships, powered by quantum singularity drives, danced between Zarkonian vessels with impossible agility. Weapons that harnessed the power of dark matter tore through Zarkonian shields like paper. On the ground, the uprising was in full swing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinated the global assault from her underground command center. "Team Alpha, deploy the EM pulse generators in Sector 7. Beta Squad, I need those quantum disruptors online now." The Zarkonians, caught completely off guard, found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't comprehend. Human soldiers wielded weapons that seemed to defy the laws of physics, phasing through solid matter or creating localized time distortions. In Central Park, now a Zarkonian stronghold, Jake led a team of resistance fighters. They moved with preternatural speed, their quantum-enhanced reflexes allowing them to anticipate and counter every Zarkonian move. "Push them back," Jake shouted, his voice carrying over the din of battle. "Show these alien bastards what happens when you mess with Earth." As the fighting raged on, Supreme Commander Zarkon struggled to regain control of his forces. The Eternal Dominion, once the pride of the Zarkonian fleet, now drifted powerless in orbit. "How?" Zarkon hissed, his composure finally cracking. "How could we have been so blind?" Vexera, her earlier suspicions confirmed, faced her commander. "They deceived us, Supreme Commander. All this time, we thought we were in control, but they were planning, preparing. We underestimated them, and now we're paying the price." On the Prometheus, Admiral Chen received a priority communication from Dr. Rodriguez. "Admiral, we've achieved 70% liberation of major cities, but the Zarkonians are rallying in Asia. They're using some kind of quantum nullifier to counter our tech." Chen's mind raced, considering their options. "Doctor, it's time. Initiate Project Singularity." There was a moment of hesitation before Rodriguez replied. "Understood, Admiral. May the stars have mercy on us all." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a device of unimaginable power hummed to life. Project Singularity, the culmination of humanity's quantum research, began to manipulate the very fabric of space-time. The effects were immediate and devastating. Zarkonian ships found themselves caught in localized time dilation fields, slowing to a near standstill. Others were swallowed by micro-wormholes, reappearing light years away, disoriented and powerless. But the power of Project Singularity came at a cost. The Earth itself shuddered under the strain of warped spacetime. Tsunamis rose, earthquakes shook continents, and auroras painted the skies with eerie, beautiful light. General Akira Tanaka, leading the ground assault in Tokyo, felt the Earth tremble beneath his feet. He watched in awe as a Zarkonian battlecruiser, caught in a time dilation field, slowly crumbled into dust. "By all the gods," he whispered, "what have we unleashed?" The tide of battle had decisively turned. Zarkonian forces, once seemingly invincible, now found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed. In city after city, human resistance fighters pushed back their alien oppressors. Jake Martinez stood atop a fallen Zarkonian walker in Times Square, rallying his fellow New Yorkers. "Forward," he cried, his armor scuffed and scored but still functioning. "For Earth. For humanity." The crowd's roar was deafening, a sound of defiance and hope that echoed around the world. In orbit, Admiral Chen directed the space battle with cool efficiency. The Zarkonian fleet, once numbering in the thousands, had been reduced to a few hundred ships desperately trying to retreat. "All ships, focus fire on the Eternal Dominion," Chen ordered. "It's time to end this." The ISS Prometheus led the charge, its quantum weapons tearing through what remained of the Zarkonian flagship's defenses. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Zarkon watched in disbelief as his empire crumbled before him. "It's over, Zarkon," Vexera said softly. "We've lost." Zarkon, his pride finally shattered, slumped in his command chair. "How?" "They were primitive. Weak." "No," Vexera corrected him. "They were patient. They were clever. And they were far stronger than we ever imagined." As the last Zarkonian ships fled Earth's solar system, a great cheer went up from every corner of the planet. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. But the celebration was tempered by the knowledge of what their victory had cost. The Earth, racked by the effects of Project Singularity, would take years to heal. And the galaxy, now aware of humanity's true power, would never be the same. Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, watching as the last traces of the Zarkonian fleet vanished into the depths of space. Dr. Rodriguez joined her, both women bearing the weight of their decisions. "We did it, Sarah," Rodriguez said, her voice a mix of exhaustion and amazement. "We actually did it." Chen nodded slowly. "We did. But this is just the beginning, Elena. The Zarkonians will be back, and they won't be alone. The galaxy now knows what we're capable of." As they looked down at the Earth, scared but unbroken, both women understood the truth. Humanity had taken its first steps onto a much larger stage. The age of isolation was over. The era of cosmic conflict had begun. In the ruins of New York, Jake helped pull survivors from a collapsed building. As he worked, he caught sight of a child staring up at the sky, where the faint outline of the Prometheus could be seen. "What happens now?" the child asked, fear and wonder mixing in their voice. Jake smiled, despite his exhaustion. Now we rebuild, we heal, and we prepare. Because out there," he gestured to the stars, "there's a whole universe waiting for us. And we've just shown them that humanity is a force to be reckoned with." The uprising had succeeded, but the story of humanity's leap to the stars was far from over. It was, in many ways, only just beginning. The counterattack. 6 months had passed since humanity's stunning victory over the Zarkonian invasion force. Earth, though battered, had begun to heal. The scars left by Project Singularity were fading, and humanity's resolve had never been stronger. But Admiral Sarah Chen knew that the war was far from over. In the newly constructed Terran Defense Headquarters, buried deep within the Rocky Mountains, Chen addressed the United Earth Council. "The Zarkonians have retreated, but they're regrouping," she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous chamber. "Our long-range quantum sensors have detected massive fleet movements near the edge of our galaxy. They're coming back, and this time, they'll bring everything they have." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now head of the Terran Science Division, stepped forward. "Which is why we can't wait for them to come to us. We need to take the fight to them." A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. General Akira Tanaka voiced what many were thinking. "You're suggesting we launch an offensive into Zarkonian space. We barely know what's out there." Chen nodded grimly. "Exactly. Which is why our first mission is reconnaissance and alliance building. The Zarkonians have conquered and subjugated countless species. It's time we offer them a chance at freedom." The plan was audacious. A fleet of Earth's most advanced ships, led by the ISS Prometheus, would venture into the heart of Zarkonian territory. Their mission: to gather intelligence, free enslaved worlds, and build a coalition capable of bringing down the Zarkonian Empire once and for all. As preparations for the mission reached their final stages, Jake Martinez found himself assigned to an elite team of soldiers and diplomats. Their job would be to make first contact with potential alien allies and coordinate ground operations. "I never thought I'd go from sanitation worker to interstellar diplomat," Jake mused as he boarded the Prometheus. His team leader, a seasoned diplomat named Amara Okafor, smiled wryly. "Life's full of surprises, Martinez, especially when you're dealing with aliens." The launch day arrived with little fanfare. Earth couldn't risk the Zarkonians detecting their plans. As the Prometheus and its escort fleet engaged their quantum drives, Chen gave one final address to her crew. "We carry with us the hopes of not just humanity, but of every species that has suffered under Zarkonian rule. The road ahead will be dangerous, but I have faith in each and every one of you. Together, we will bring freedom to the stars." With a flash of light that briefly outshone the sun, the Terran fleet vanished into the depths of space. Their first destination was Lyra 9, a planet on the fringes of Zarkonian space. Intelligence suggested its inhabitants, the Lyrans, were on the verge of rebellion. As the Prometheus dropped out of quantum space, the crew got their first look at an alien world. Lyra 9 was a swirling mass of purple and green, its atmosphere charged with powerful electromagnetic storms. But even from orbit, the scars of Zarkonian occupation were visible. Massive strip mines and sprawling labor camps dotted the surface. "Life signs are reading as non-human," reported the sensor officer. "But there's definitely a civilization down there." Chen turned to Jake and Amara. "You're up. Make contact with the Lyran resistance. Offer them our help, but be prepared for anything." The descent to Lyra 9's surface was turbulent, the planet's storms battering the shuttle. As they broke through the cloud cover, Jake got his first glimpse of the Lyrans. They were tall, willowy creatures with iridescent skin and large compound eyes, and they were fighting for their lives against Zarkonian troops. "Looks like we arrived just in time for the party," Jake quipped, activating his quantum armor. The human team's arrival turned the tide of the battle. The Zarkonians, caught off guard by the appearance of the very species they thought they had defeated, fell into disarray. Within hours, the main Lyran city was liberated. Amara approached the Lyran leader, a being named Zulax. "We come from Earth," she said, the translator in her suit converting her words to the musical language of the Lyrans. "We're here to offer you alliance against the Zarkonian Empire." Zulax's compound eyes flickered with a mix of hope and suspicion. "You defeated the Zarkonians. How is this possible?" Jake stepped forward, deactivating his helmet to show his face. "With a lot of planning, a bit of deception, and some technology they never saw coming. We can teach you, help you fight back. But we need allies. The Lyrans deliberated, their melodic language filling the air. Finally, Zilax turned back to the humans. We will join you. For too long, we have suffered under Zarkonian rule. It is time for us to rise. News of the alliance with the Lyrans spread quickly through the sector. Other subjugated species, hearing of Earth's victory and the growing resistance, began to reach out. The Prometheus became a symbol of hope, appearing above world after world to offer freedom and alliance. But the Zarkonians were not idle. As reports of rebellion flooded in, Supreme Commander Zarkon, who had narrowly escaped Earth's wrath, rallied his forces. The Zarkonian home fleet, the mightiest armada in the known galaxy, began to mobilize. Aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Chen received the intelligence with grim determination. They're gathering everything they have for a final push. We need to strike at their heart before they can launch their assault. Dr. Rodriguez, who had insisted on joining the mission, presented her latest findings. We've analyzed the data from our encounters. There's a pattern to Zarkonian quantum technology. I think we can shut it all down, just like we did on Earth. The implications were staggering. If they could neutralize Zarkonian technology across their entire empire, the war could be won in a single stroke. But the risk was enormous. To deploy a quantum disruption field of that magnitude, we'd need to be at the heart of their empire, Chen mused. Their homeworld. Jake, who had proven himself a valuable strategist, spoke up. So we give them what they expect. A frontal assault, all our allies hitting them at once, while they're distracted. We slip in and shut them down. Chen finished, a fierce grin spreading across her face. It's audacious, dangerous, and probably our best shot. Let's do it. The call went out across the sector. Every allied species, every liberated world, prepared for war. It would be the largest fleet action in galactic history. As the combined fleet assembled, Jake found himself looking out at the vast array of ships. Vessels of every shape and size, crewed by beings he could scarcely imagine, all united against a common foe. Quite a sight, isn't it? Amara said, joining him at the viewport. Jake nodded, his expression a mix of awe and determination. When I was a kid, I used to dream about aliens. Never imagined I'd be fighting alongside them to save the galaxy. Amara smiled. Life's full of surprises, remember. The battle plan was set. The Allied fleet would engage the Zarkonian home defense forces, drawing their attention and firepower. Meanwhile, the Prometheus, cloaked and running silent, would slip through the chaos and make for the Zarkonian homeworld. As the Prometheus prepared to depart, Admiral Chen addressed her crew one last time. What we do here will echo through history, not just human history, but the history of every species in this galaxy. We carry with us the hopes and dreams of countless beings. Failure is not an option. With that, the IS Prometheus vanished into quantum space, bound for the heart of the Zarkonian Empire. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity was leading the charge. The final battle for freedom was about to begin. The new era, the Zarkonian capital world, Zarkon Prime, loomed before the ISS Prometheus. A planet of gleaming metal and pulsing energy, it was the heart of an empire that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. Now, it stood as the last bastion of a crumbling regime. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the swirling battle beyond. The Allied fleet, a patchwork armada of ships from 100 worlds, clashed with the Zarkonian Home Defense Force in a spectacular display of firepower and tactics. Status report, Chen demanded, her voice steady despite the stakes. Allied forces are holding their own, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Commander Rajpatal. The Zarkonians are fully engaged. Our path is clear. Chen nodded grimly. Take us in. Activate the quantum disruption field on my mark. As the Prometheus slipped past the raging battle, cloaked and undetected, Dr. Elena Rodriguez made final adjustments to the disruption device. The fruit of months of research and reverse engineering, It was humanity's ultimate weapon against Zarkonian technology. "Elena," Chen said softly, "are you certain about this? The scale of what we're attempting?" Rodriguez met the Admiral's gaze, her eyes reflecting a mix of determination and fear. "It's our only shot, Sarah. We've come too far to turn back now." On the planet's surface, Supreme Commander Zarkon raged at his subordinates. "How can these primitives be defeating us? We are the Zarkonian Empire. We have ruled the stars for eons." Sub-Commander Vexera, who had long since lost faith in her leader's infallibility, watched the battle screens with a sense of impending doom. "Perhaps," she mused, "it is time for that rule to end." The Prometheus entered Zarkon Prime's atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to the planet's defenses. As they approached the central power hub of the Zarkonian capital, Chen gave the order they had all been waiting for: activate the quantum disruption field. Now. Rodriguez took a deep breath and engaged the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave of silence spreading across the planet, every piece of Zarkonian technology began to shut down. In orbit, Zarkonian ships suddenly lost power, drifting helplessly in space. On the ground, weapons fell silent, force fields collapsed, and the once mighty empire found itself paralyzed. Jake Martinez, leading a team of special forces, touched down in the heart of the Zarkonian capital. As they moved through the streets, they encountered not resistance, but confusion and fear. "This is it, people," Jake called out to his team. "Let's end this war once and for all." In the Imperial Palace, Zarkon watched in disbelief as his world crumbled around him. Screens went dark, alarms fell silent, and the very floor beneath his feet seemed to lose its solidity as gravity generators failed. What is happening?" he gasped, his once powerful voice now small and frightened. Vexera, seeing the truth that her commander could not, stepped forward. "It's over, Supreme Commander. We've lost." As Jake and his team breached the palace defenses, they found themselves face to face with the being who had once threatened to destroy their world. Zarkon, stripped of his technology and power, seemed smaller somehow, almost pitiful. "Supreme Commander Zarkon," Jake announced, his voice echoing in the cavernous throne room, "in the name of the allied species of the galaxy, you are under arrest. The reign of the Zarkonian Empire is over." In the days that followed, news of the Empire's fall spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Worlds that had lived under Zarkonian oppression for generations tasted freedom for the first time. The alliance that had formed to fight the Zarkonians now found itself with a new purpose: rebuilding a shattered galaxy. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory reached home. Humanity, once thought of as a primitive species on a backwater planet, was now hailed as the liberators of the galaxy. But for those who had led the fight, the work was far from over. Admiral Chen, along with representatives from every allied species, gathered on a neutral world to discuss the future. "The Zarkonian Empire has fallen," Chen addressed the assembled delegates, "but we cannot allow the power vacuum to lead to chaos. We must work together to build a new galactic society, one based on cooperation and mutual respect." The negotiations were long and often difficult. Centuries of mistrust and conflict could not be erased overnight. But slowly, painfully, a new order began to take shape. A galactic council was formed, with representatives from all sentient species. Earth, as the catalyst for change, was granted a leadership role, but Chen and the other human delegates were careful not to dominate the proceedings. "We're all in this together," Chen reminded her fellow counselors. "Humanity may have led the charge, but this victory belongs to all of us." As the new galactic society took shape, the former empire underwent a radical transformation. Zarkonian technology, once used to oppress, was repurposed to heal worlds ravaged by centuries of exploitation. Former enemy soldiers, now free from the empire's indoctrination, joined peacekeeping forces to help maintain stability. Jake Martinez, hailed as a hero of the war, found himself in an unexpected role: diplomat. As one of the few humans with extensive experience interacting with multiple alien species, he became a key figure in fostering understanding between former enemies. "You know," he said to Amara during a rare quiet moment, "I never thought I'd say this, but I think I prefer diplomacy to fighting." Amara laughed. "Life's full of surprises, remember. But you're good at this, Jake. You help people see past their differences, find common ground." On Zarkon Prime, now renamed Nova Concordia, a monument was erected. It depicted representatives of every allied species, human and alien alike, standing together. At its base, an inscription read, "In memory of all who fought for freedom, and in hope for a brighter future." 5 years after the fall of the Zarkonian Empire, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council. Gray had begun to streak her hair, but her eyes were as sharp and determined as ever. "We've come a long way," she began, looking out at the diverse array of beings before her. "From a galaxy divided by fear and oppression to one united in purpose. But our work is not done. There are still worlds to heal, discoveries to be made, challenges to overcome." She paused, her gaze sweeping the chamber. "Humanity's journey to the stars began with a leap of faith. We faced an enemy that thought us weak, primitive, incapable of standing against their might. But we proved them wrong, not through strength of arms alone, but through ingenuity, determination, and the power of alliance. As we move forward into this new era, let us remember the lessons of our struggle. That no species, no empire, no challenge is insurmountable when we stand together. That the greatest power in the universe is not technology or weapons, but the indomitable spirit of free beings working towards a common goal." Chen's words resonated through the council chamber and across the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes listened, united by a shared hope for the future. As the session concluded, Dr. Elena Rodriguez approached Chen. "Quite a speech, Sarah," she said with a smile. "You've come a long way from the admiral who doubted we could pull this off." Chen chuckled. "We all have, Elena. But you know what? I think this is just the beginning. The galaxy's a big place. Who knows what's waiting for us out there?" As they looked out at the stars, now not just points of light, but beacons of possibility, both women felt a sense of wonder. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, faced its greatest challenge, and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The age of isolation was over. The era of galactic cooperation had begun, and somewhere out there, in the vast expanse of space, new adventures, new challenges, and new possibilities awaited. The quantum leap that had started with a desperate bid for survival had led to something greater than anyone could have imagined. A united galaxy, looking to the future with hope and determination. The story of humanity's triumph was not an ending, but a beginning. The dawn of a new era for all sentient beings.